Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Alium Partners Success and Survival webinar. This is Johnny Jensen. I'm going to be your host this afternoon. Shortly, once I've finished with the introductions, Nigel Peters, the managing partner of Alium Partners, will be joining us on the webinar. So, for those of you who have attended a webinar before, you may be familiar with some of the tools that are available inside the GoToWebinar panel. That panel should be on the right-hand side of your screen as you're looking at it. Everybody is currently muted at the moment, but we will be looking to take questions during the webinar, and you can type those into the chat box on the right, and myself and Nigel will be able to handle those. At the end of the short introduction, it's probably about a 20-minute presentation. We're going to go into the live Q&A, where if anyone does have the microphone on them or they're calling in by telephone, you can raise your hand in the chat box, and I will actually pass the mic over to you so you can speak.
Okay, good afternoon everybody. It's Nigel Peters from Alium. I'm delighted that so many of you have asked to join the webinar today. So thank you very much indeed. The topic of today is success and survival, taking proactive steps post-Brexit. I guess that all of us have been watching the press and watching what's happened over the last few days. The most interesting comment I heard yesterday from one of my many clients was there is new political science degree now being offered in the marketplace, which is politics in the UK from 2:45 to 3 p.m. on the last couple of days. So I think there's enough actually happened in the political environment in those 15 minutes to create an awful lot of history. But meanwhile, we've all got to crack on and get on with business at the moment. I'm very, very lucky in this role here in Alium. I have a marvellous time. I probably chat to 10 or 15 businesses every day. I've also spoken to a number of senior politicians and senior government officials over the last couple of days as well. There's some interesting stories, most of which I can't tell on this. But what has come out of that is that there is a huge amount of uncertainty, and we've been through this before. We went through the recession in 2008. Those of you who are a little more grey-haired like me went through this in 2000 as well, and there is never a silver bullet that's going to solve all of our problems as part of Brexit. But what we have got to do is get on with it, and one of my key messages today as we go across to the first slide is absolutely around that. It is about getting on with it. Doing nothing is going to achieve nothing. I think Brexit has already had an impact upon businesses. Despite my very best efforts in Alium and chatting to all of the businesses that I do every day, I've always tried to take Alium into a consultative and transformation and an assistive type of business where we can bring people to help you. But at the end of the day, it's all about you having to do something to make a difference. If you don't do something, strangely enough, nothing happens. And I think that again is the key message. So, is it going to be an opportunity or a risk and so on? Well, I think in this instance then, what have you got to do? I was very lucky in my past that I used to spend a lot of my time doing planning of major infrastructure and contingency plans, and the key thing there was having a plan. So my first message out to everybody today is anticipate what the new market will look like. If you just wait for the new market to come to you, it's not going to happen. Again, like 2008, what is going to happen? Who knows? We're in a recession. The activity levels are low. You'll see that those are low, I think, as future results start to show around the last 6 months. So we've got to anticipate. Do we have crystal balls? I don't think we do. It would be easy if we did. But in this particular instance, there are some basic issues that we can address to then start and pull that plan together. So planning, if that is key, we've got to anticipate, and on the next slide now you'll see identify where the opportunities and threats lie. A bit of motherhood and apple pie. Have you all done a SWOT analysis? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And of course it's going to be around the threats and the weaknesses. First and foremost, and this was already factored into much of the market until the outcome on the Friday morning, but of course was the currency ones. So those of you who already haven't perhaps hedged your currencies, adapted to the currency changes, and if these do impact upon your business, you would have already seen 10, 15 or 20% swings, perhaps in areas of your cost base. And for those of you who are doing business in Europe or wider already, are seeing the other side of it. But again, it's anticipating that. So in terms of putting that plan together, go through it. SWOT is a great way of doing it. Another way, from those of you thinking back, is the acronym was PESTLE, variously political, environmental, strategic, technology, legislative, economic, and so on. Just look at those, and again, there's no silver bullet. Have a look at those factors that are there, and do your best to understand what might happen and what might be a factor in there. So going through the list on these, changes in regulations and laws concerning your organization. If you're in a law firm, and there are some joining us today, I would think you're looking at it from a business development perspective. How much can you inform your clients about what may be changing? How can you inform of the impact on changes in legislation? But on the other hand, my view is I don't think they're going to change quickly. And so for those of us, let's take the European Journal, which impacts upon so much of the way that we procure goods and services, particularly obviously out of government. There's a framework and a format that's been there for many years. I don't think we're going to change it overnight. But what we have got the opportunity now is to lobby and hopefully make things better, make us more competitive as we move forward. So if you can see where there are changes, anticipate them and plan and so on for them. Location of your staff, and again, as I say, we look at so many businesses across the spectrum here in Alium. A lot of you have got staff based in Europe. I've already heard of some American businesses that this has impacted upon, are having to renegotiate all of their salaries for their staff in the UK because they're paid in GBP, and that of course is going to be a big problem. And the normal criteria that met the changes have been overtaken. The changes in currency of 15-20% are much greater than anticipated. So HR are having now to look at risk remuneration and change many factors there. The next one is identifying the right individuals in your talent mix. Typically in Alium we're operating at C-suite, program director level and so on, but a lot of the businesses that I see are working with people who have been part of the economic migration into the country. So is that going to impact upon you? A lot of my colleagues in the health sector couldn't operate their healthcare services without those who have brought the economic migration and skills that we need. Is there going to be an exit migration? How are you going to retain your talent? How are you going to change the talent mix? How are you going to adapt actually if there are factors in that? Of course, we've talked about currency, but there's going to be impact upon revenues and costs and the reasons for this, which is going to drive a much more variable situation depending on your industry and other factors. But the key thing is anticipate, and I'm a great believer in keeping your costs to a minimum so that you've still and always got space for investment in the future. So let's move on then and let's have a look at the next one. So we talked about SWOT and threat and focusing on threats and new opportunities. So determining the impact upon your business, I was chatting to the British Chamber of Commerce and the chairman of the Sussex branch only this morning, and one of the key points that he said to me, a gentleman by the name of David Shepherd, who I respect greatly, and he said that as business leaders we're going to have to get right down into the micro level in our businesses now. It's not going to be just acceptable to do big hand, small map and hope that we can cope with this. We've got to be better, we've got to be cheaper, we've got to be faster, we've got to be more competitive in the new environment. So moving on to the next slide. So what are the changes that Brexit's going to bring to your organisation? What changes are important? As we've touched on, but the key here, it's the actions that are based on this that are going to create the opportunity and revenue. If we only see this as a problem, we're not going to survive. So where are the new areas of opportunity with new markets? Again, I've been chatting with colleagues this morning. There is funding, I believe, coming out of TI. We were talking about Dubai this morning and the opportunities for new airports, new opportunities in the Middle East. So you all know your own respective markets. Where are the opportunities going to come in the future? Obviously there may be threats, whether it be supply chain from Europe, it may be costs because of currency, but you've got to factor all of these into your existing plans, adjust them according to your findings, and then implement those changes across the organisation. But the key is keep your costs low, invest in infrastructure, invest in the expertise to deliver the change. And it goes back to my point again of, I believe doing nothing will achieve nothing. We've got to actually adapt in the current environment. So if we've got to adapt and we move forwards to the next slide, actually it comes down to strategy as ever, and there we go with the slide. So whether you set your strategy first, here what we've got to do is understand the market environment. So then let's do our strategy. What is your vision? What is your mission? What are your goals? What are your ambitions? You've got to have the right strategy, even if it only changes a little bit. And I'm a great fan of continuous improvement. You've got to adapt the whole time and align that to your strategy. Do you have a clear mission? Do you have a clear vision? And we all, a lot of us revert to let's double in 3 years or 5 years. There's nothing wrong with that as long as everybody says they buy into it. One of the best ones I saw in my previous companies was that we're going to achieve a standing within the FTSE, whether it was 250 or 100. In this instance it happened to be 100, and we'll do that within 5 years. And it gave everybody a real clear sense of importance and a clear vision of where we were going. And the market was there, and we went bounding into the FTSE 100 in 3.5 years. Behind that's another story, but actually having that strategy was key. So to achieve your success as an organisation, on my next bullet there, it's about having the whole company with you, working towards the strategy, working towards the plan. Do they know it? Do they understand the strategy? Do they understand the plan? And actually then, do they own it? And the only way that they're going to own it is by communicating it effectively to them. You've absolutely got to get that messaging across. So moving on to the last couple of the slides, I see that there's 1 or 2 questions starting to come through, so please keep typing those in, and we'll run through some of those at the end, and also then hopefully get some answers and things for you as well. Again, back to my first point, I don't think there's a silver bullet. If it's 2008 or 2000, this is just another one of those things that gets us in business, and we've got to actually adapt to it as quickly as possible. So the next point is about processes and governance that sits with that. We have our strategy, we have our visions, we have our plan. So then you've got to put in place the processes, the systems and the actions. A good one that I've looked at in the last couple of days, I spoke to a senior vice president in Heinz yesterday, and we were talking about bakeries, and we were looking at the rise of artisan we're not meant to be a well, artisan bakeries in the UK, and the growth of them, and the growth of special products like gluten-free and things like that. So actually, how can customer experience, which is the bullet there, be adapted or enhanced? How do you actually take your company to the next level? Can you do that through processes? And we did a turnaround recently on a plastic cup manufacturer, whereby changing the processes and using Lean and Toyota 360 methodology, that we managed to massively change the productivity of that particular business and drove efficiency into it throughout the organization. So again, have a look at it yourselves. And finally, how can your internal resources that you have be used to improve the processes and the actions within the business? I'm a great believer in that most of the time the answer's there. Your people know it. It might be your graduates. Have you given them the chance? It might be the old hands. It might be those who are coming up through the business as part of your succession plan. But talk to them, listen to them, and the answers are there. And maybe a lot of what I've said today actually is, as I said, it's motherhood apple pie type things, but actually a lot of the time we know it ourselves. If you don't, then look for the niche skills and capabilities that can come to you to help you understand that, and invest in doing that. So moving towards the end there, and on to the next one, we've all got to evolve, we've got to future-proof. My view is that we have to actually create our businesses into sustainable businesses that we can scale, and technology, of course, plays a big part in this for us in the future. So have you got the tools in place? Have you got the technology? How do you drive that increased productivity that I talked about? And as ever, I'm always one for trying to decrease the costs and trying to invest. For example, at Alium, it's around our CRM system. I bet a lot of you use LinkedIn. I was fascinated to see Microsoft buying LinkedIn the other day. We all use that. It can do the easy things. Here at Alium, I believe in the CRM system because it gives us the continuity with all of the people we work with, and we get to know them and work with them over a long time, so it keeps our quality very, very high. What technology do you use? How have you invested in that particular technology to drive improvements? And often those can be in the short term, but also then in the longer term, where you find the funding to do that. But as ever, the best form of technology, I often think, is our people. You've got to look after your people, invest in the people, and they are always at the heart of our future success. So that was the gist of a lot of what we've talked about today. Is there a silver bullet? Have I given you all the answers to Article 50? Probably not. Article 50 can take up to 2 years. We've seen what's happened with our politicians over the last few weeks, and I have very mixed views on that, particularly seeing the changes in the leadership. Personally, and I'll still say this, I was a Remainer, but now we're into Brexit. Well, that's it. Let's crack on with it, and I believe we can be great and succeed, and we've got to take this now as an opportunity to do that. So this is the opportunity for us. Let's see what happens with Article 50, but let's turn all of our individual businesses into great ones and grab the points that are there. A lot of the time we know the answers ourselves. Talk to our people, look at our processes, look at our systems, look at our technology, but most of all, invest. Look at the infrastructure that I've talked about there and invest in the changes for the future, because if you don't invest and you don't take the actions, I don't believe that we're going to succeed either individually or collectively. So thank you very much. As I say, there's no easy answer to all of us. I hope that individual points as I've gone through that, and a big thanks to the team here, of Live and Social and the Alium team all working together to put this together. I hope the individual points that came across there, even if one of them makes you think and do something, then I think it's really, really important indeed. So let's have a look at some of the questions now and see if we can get some of those up and I can read them out.
You can see them there, Nigel, the questions, but I can pick some of them out for you if you'd like. We've got Elizabeth. She's from a pharmaceutical company. Quite a straight up one, really. I think it's a good one to kick off with. Do you believe the fallout from the vote for Brexit will result in a recession for the UK?
Yeah, it's a very good point, Elizabeth. I believe actually we've been recessionary for 6 months because I think there's been a degree of uncertainty, and I don't think that was Brexit. I think that was oil. I think there was terrorism, and by the way, I did mean to start off with our thoughts to all of our colleagues in Nice and France as I was watching that late last night. It's a sad day, but when you look at that and all of the other factors that macroeconomically that we faced, I believe that we were quite recessionary over the last 6 months and certainly in the last quarter. So will it result in a recession? If we talk it down, and it's a bit like morale, if you talk it down, then yeah, absolutely. And I think it will drive uncertainty. You've already seen that in the property market. I think you'll see it in retail coming through. You'll see it in things like investment, and maybe we'll see new cars sales drop, white goods sales and so on. Retail is changing in a way around the home shopping and internet and so on. But macroeconomically, yes, I do. But I don't believe it will be as hard as the recession was in 2008. But I believe this one, instead of a slow decline, is going to be a very, very, very rocky ride. And I think it's going to be very spiky in that sense. So Elizabeth, yeah, let's plan on it being recessionary, but let's actually plan it as being an opportunity and making some changes.
I think
I've got one here, Johnny.
Oh, go on, yeah, go for it.
Sorry, go on.
Well, no, pick it yourself, you can see them, yeah.
Yeah, okay, one from Peter, one of our clients in the construction industry. So he says, what opportunities do you think Brexit will present for UK businesses? Is there a bright side? I've been working with some US businesses lately, interestingly, which we don't talk about too much from Alium, although I've got a great Latin American practice. The Americans always saw the UK as a platform into Europe, so they seem to be very cautious about it at the moment because of Brexit. Yet actually, I think it's a great opportunity. So I believe that the strengthening of relations with America and the potential there, and interesting, as I said, my UK TI contacts around the Middle East, India, and so on, also brings us as great opportunity. So yeah, I think there are a number of those actually at the moment. Moving on, another one, Michael, in the financial services industry. From a recruitment perspective, yeah, dear to my heart, thank you, Michael. Do you believe there will be a talent drain to the EU? And what roles do you think will be most in demand in 2016? Do I think there will be a talent drain? I touched on this on economic migration. Will there be an economic migration the other way? I don't really believe so. The interesting point is my colleagues in France and Germany actually are very, very upset about Brexit, and almost some ways seem to be more upset than we've been. So will there be a talent drain to the EU? I think there'll be migration which will follow the opportunities. So I think there will be some natural changes and talent drain, but that will be much more around business. And if we actually change tax, then you'll see migration of best talent to certain areas where there is the investment and so on. So yeah, I don't believe there will be a talent drain, but if I was running businesses that have that have used economic migration significantly, like my colleagues in some of the healthcare industries and so on, I would absolutely be making plans around talent retention and so on. So no, I don't think there will be a talent drain. I think there will always be a talent drain, though, to where the opportunities are, and we've got to make that Great Britain in the future. Look at the Olympics. Look at what we did there. It was amazing. So a few more coming through. If I didn't get to your questions, though, you can always email me, please, at any stage. If you use my website email address, n.peters@aliumpartners.com, I'll pick that up and I'll do my best to get to that as quickly as possible from our blogs and so on. I try and do all of those as much as I can every day, so I'll get through to you as quickly as I can. So let me just have a look if there's any last questions, folks. Thank you once again for coming through. Remember the points, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the session, and thank you for joining us. So let me just have a look if there's any last ones.
And just to ask a question, Nigel, if people do have concerns about how their business should best adapt and react, is that something that the Alium Partners team are they taking calls about that, or how are you able to help clients who are wondering quite what step to take, or if there's some points come from your presentation, who do they go to ask?
Thanks to my sales team there. Look, you see, at the end of the day, yeah, of course, we'd be delighted, and one of the things that always frustrates me was recently we're a member of the CBI, and the CBI keeps saying that we lack talent in the UK. We absolutely don't lack talent, and whether you're a client or one of the people who've worked with us in the interim or even in the permanent roles, there's the most amazing talent from graduates to the most senior people here. We have access to them. And the challenge is not this lack of talent, it's lining up the talent with the needs, which is what we try to do within Alium. And that's where our CRM and things come in. So I don't believe there is a talent gap or shortage. Yes, there will be in certain niche areas always. So for example, in compliance and financial services at the moment, we solve a lot of problems for businesses because of our ability to access key talent there. But there is the talent out there. It's the ability to be able to find it and bring it to you. So yeah, talk to your own people as well, though. There are the opportunities. Another question coming through from one of our colleagues. Managing the impact of the weak pound by importers of goods, components, ingredients. How permanent is the devaluation? My daughter works in an investment bank, and if I knew the answer to that, A, she'd have told me, and B, we'd all be a lot brighter than our colleagues in the investment banks. The interest rate changes with Carney yesterday weren't what was expected, and those are the key drivers. So that's in the hands, in my view, in the hands of the Bank of England, and I think that is excellent. And balancing the pound and our competitiveness and interest rates is their job. We do quite a lot with the Bank of England and also the Lord Mayor of London. We got an award for that last year, by the way. I'm a great believer of that is the right instrument to go forwards. I'm just going to fix my mortgage again for the next 5 years. So there you go. That's my view on interest rates and the pound. So there we go. I'm just looking to see. No, I don't think I've got any more questions coming through. It's coming up to 3 o'clock. We've been 30 minutes, and I think for any of you to take 30 minutes out of your day, thank you. The slides are going to be available. The links to this will be available on our website and so on, and the recording. And as I say, it's in our hands. It's up to you to go and do it. Do plan for it, though. Look at all of the factors, consider them carefully. Okay, so I'll call it a day. Thanks very much, everybody. As I say, my final thoughts go to our colleagues actually in next door in France, but good luck with the market to everybody else, and I hope you enjoy the weekend. Goodbye.